Welcome to my video demonstration for Crossing Borders, Art and Culture in a Global Society. This is a quick demonstration regarding Technoscapes and the field of architecture and design and what technology is offering today to the average homeowner, average person building a house. This is a small project that I'm currently working on here in Bend, Oregon in Northwest Crossing. It's a small residential. And we're looking at a really typical 2D document, which is traditionally how most clients see their projects for the first time and how they are designed and how they review them initially with the process. This is the first floor plan. There's some tricky things in a lot of 2D documents that are really hard for clients to understand, particularly in this one right here is often a very confusing section with all the dashed lines in different colors and what that really means, as is this section right here underneath the stairwell. We're going to take a look at that later and see how much clearer kinds of details are in 3D. Look at the second floor really quick and you can kind of see again this is just a typical 2D document that they would get and make all their decisions based on these kinds of drawings. Another popular drawing for making decisions are your elevations. So here for this particular house, these are the elevations, and again you can see these are flat drawings expressing three-dimensional buildings. So things like this area right here where I've got a change in texture is hard for the client to understand what that really means. Here in the roof line is dark gray, but up here it shows the shingling style of the roof, and although I know that it's dark gray because it's extremely steep, so steep that the fill has actually become solid. It's really hard for clients to, again, understand the depth, understand the angles, understand all the things that these 2D drawings are trying to convey. Here's a couple more elevations to kind of give you an overall view of the house. And again, here's that change again, and it looks like one great big wall with a couple texture changes here because we're dealing with a 2D drawing. Here's the south side of the house and the entrance area with the porch. Again, all these things just drawn in simple 2D. And this is how most clients typically start their project. They make all their decisions based off these drawings, and they make changes usually after framing goes up because they don't understand a lot of the information contained in these drawings, and it's very difficult to understand. What ArchiCAD offers is the ability for me to work with my clients in 3D. So here is that same house, but it's 3D. So now the angles of the roof, the changes in plane, the changes in texture are all much easier for the client to interpret. And this is all relatively new technology. It's only really been able, probably in the last 5 years, that an average homeowner builder could have access to a program like this and see the 3D renderings and this kind of work done on a very typical average project. Um, Before that time, it was really too expensive, or the software was too hard to get a hold of, things like that. So it's really been in the last 5 years that the average person can have this kind of experience with the three-dimensional. So one of the great things about ArchiCAD is I can do what's called a fly-through, which means I can pretend to be a person coming into this structure. So right now we're going to swing into this house and show this homeowner what their house looks like when they walk in for the first time. We just came through the door, and here's her house. She can look to the left and to the right and see how everything in her house kind of together and what that space is like. On the floor plan, I had mentioned those tricky areas where it was hard to tell what the 2D renderings were trying to communicate. And if we sneak into the dining room here, I'm just going to zoom up here, you can see that that spot in the kitchen was actually a pass-through with cabinetry that actually extends into the dining room, allowing that empty corner on the kitchen side to actually have usable storage space, which is kind of a neat feature. She has it on both sides. So you can see straight through from one end of the house to the other because there's actually no wall there. Those dashed lines meant that the wall was not in that location. And the dashed line above was the cabinetry extending past and through. Again, tricky things looking at it in 2D and interpreting it very difficult for clients. Another thing that's difficult for clients that 3D makes very easy is wall heights, wall stop and starts, and proportion of doors and windows from the inside. This program lets me go ahead and look out the windows. I could load up photographs of the exterior landscape, and you could actually see what views they would see through their windows. The other neat thing about the window, I'm just going to sneak outside the window right here and show you a fun little feature that clients can appreciate. I can show them what people will see when they're looking in their windows before the house is ever built. So if there is a view into a space that they're not comfortable with, they're going to know that before we ever pour a foundation, before we ever break ground and put up framing, which means that they're going to save a lot of changes and a lot of change orders throughout their build process by not having a great realization all of a sudden that, oh my gosh, you can see straight through my whole house with this one window. I want it up higher, I want it moved over, anything like that could all be realized and discussed before you ever start building or even finalize your bids for construction. So it's a huge asset in the budget direction of building houses as well. Another neat spot right here, we saw the doorway underneath the stairs. Well, when you look up, because it's a stairwell, you can see that that ceiling in there is actually angled because that stairwell is continuing up. This would be very hard for a client to imagine or understand initially, but in 3D they can see exactly what I'm talking about, and I can ask them if they have a preference. Do they want me to put in a secondary ceiling line so it's flat across the top? Is it okay angled? Do we need to change this up? Are they comfortable with the way this space looks and how it comes together? All these kinds of things, decisions made before framing, which typically tricky little details like that would often be messed with at the framing stage, which costs time and money. Another neat feature that ArchiCAD has, I'm going to go back to the first floor view here. I can use the marquee tool and actually pick very specific sections of the structure for viewing. So let's say we want to work and look at just this bathroom right here. And possibly a little bit of that. So we're going to go ahead and look at just the bathroom. And you can see I can flip through these very quickly. It makes it very easy for me to, so there's her laundry room right there on this one side. Here's the bathroom space for her guest bathroom with a built-in shower and a little sink and toilet space, so she has a sense of how big this bathroom is, how much space it has, how tall the ceilings are, how tall the doors are. Again, just visual on the sizes that's really valuable in making decisions on whether or not that space is going to work for the client, feel right for the client, and perform the way the client is hoping right from day one. So if changes need to be made, they're made before we start construction. Another neat section that clients often appreciate is they like to see the house with the one wall. Like usually, here's a good wall. I can take this section right here, and by taking off that portion of the wall, you can see it renders pretty fast. We're not waiting a huge amount of time for this. And I'm going to go ahead and fit that to the screen. So now they can actually see into the side of their house from one whole side, a nice sense of how the spaces all come together, how everything flows together, what's above what, what's below what. Right now you can see I don't have the roof lines on here. A lot of times it helps clients for me to take out certain elements, especially roofs. But if I want the roof on there, all I have to do is do this. And there's the roof line. So I can work to the strengths of the client's understanding. I can work to the strengths of the architecture and help a client plan ahead for any changes, any aesthetic made without actually having to do anything different than what I already did. I actually built this model at the exact same time that I was building the regular floor plan document. So ArchiCAD builds everything at the same time. So when I make a change on a floor plan, it changes the model as well. Everything's synchronous, and these models I can share as images and email them. I can do a live demonstration just like I'm doing now using a free web application to record my screen and video, upload it to YouTube. I could also do screen to screen computer sharing where I call the client on the phone and I have them log into my computer so they can see what I see on my computer and I can share a presentation that way. This Technoscape, as far as building and designing, is probably the most user friendly, client friendly opportunity that has been given in easily the last 20 years. And anybody can have this opportunity. It's not out of reach anymore fiscally to do these kinds of things for even just an average residential dwelling. That is my presentation on Technoscapes and the architectural built environment. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Bye.